So you may remember back in the days of Beergate, the very, very thirsty time that the Tories and especially the right-wing press were desperate to get anything they could on Keir Starmer to at least try and take the pressure off Boris. And, rightly or wrongly, I think Keir Starmer did a fantastic thing by coming out and saying, hey, if I get caught for this, I'll resign. That was a very, very brave thing for him to do. And I think it was easily one of the most fantastic political moves he's ever played. That showed that Keir Starmer is very, very much capable of playing politics, and I wish he'd do more of it in certainly in that action, to be bold. But we're not talking about that today. One of the things that has come to light, and we're going to be talking about today, is a very worrying trend. First of all, the amount of, thirstiness that these right-wing press took and the lengths that they went to try and get anything they could on Starmer shows the lengths that they went to try and get any dirt that they could, and it should be something that should be absolutely condemned and, saying, hey, that was not the right thing to do, because it was very clear that even after Starmer got cleared, they were still trying to find stuff, as we'll find out. But also, the very interesting thing that comes out about this is that these new Red Wall MPs, these new Tory Red Wall MPs, shall we say, to get the distinction, also weighed in on this as well, showing an absolute desperation in any way which they could to try and keep their seats, meaning that they are willing to play a very, very dirty game coming up to the next general election. And that is very, very worrying, because if they were willing to go, as we're about to find out, to these such extents, then put it this way, any opposition party challenging these new these Tory Red Wall MPs need to be careful, because they have shown in this action over Beergate that they are willing to play very, very dirty indeed in order to try and keep their seats. And it is something that we should very, very much discourage, and something that should be called out for. So let's get on with this then. So before we go diving into the story, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. And of course, down below there's the YouTube thank you button, as well the Pony Club subscription you can join as well. So let's get on to this then. So this comes from The Guardian with the title of Labour MP claims that reporter broke into our office to find Beergate material. Now, that alone should be incredibly shocking, that a reporter went to that lengths to try and find material. And it should be, called out and condemned. And I'm glad that the Guardian have called it out. So it begins. A Labour MP has claimed that a reporter broke into her office to find material about Beergate, aimed at the media, amid the media furore over the accusations of the lockdown breaches that she said had been devastating to her in her first year as an MP. Speaking for the first time since police cleared Keir Starmer of the lockdown breaches, the City of Durham MP, Mary Fuld, said that she had been shattered by the media storm surrounding the meeting at her offices, where Starmer was pictured with a beer. She described how teenage children of her staff had been doorstepped by reporters, and members of a local party were cold called, accused of being at these lockdown parties. She said, "We had papers on the phone every day, camped outside the office. One reporter managed to break into the office where the cleaner was coming up to see if they could find anything in our office," Fo said. "They were knocking on my door at 10:30 at night. They doorstepped a member of my staff's 14-year-old child in the middle of the day and got him really worried. Some staff members and parents were doorstepped, and they were being cold called by members of the CLP, the Constituency Labour Party, to ask if they were at this so-called party." Foy was in the middle of moving house when Starmer's office called and said that the Labour leader would be planning to make a campaign stop in Durham. She had 3 days' notice and described a house full of boxes and a hurry to get everything ready in the midst of these local elections. I could have done without it, she said. We made sure that there was social distancing and that there was 3 in the room and that type of thing. The photo that you see is of me, Kia, and Angela eating standing up because it was so late and finishing off a bit of work, and that's it. There was not a party. Foe said that she had not. Foe said she had no particular cause to socialise with Starmer. She's a member of the left-wing socialist campaign group of MPs, even often at odds with Starmer's leadership. To be quite frank, I'd only met Kia once before, she said. There was no way that each of us was any real chit chat because we didn't really know each other. But the story was first published in May of 2021 after the video taken by a local student of Starmer with a beer circulated, with at least limited impact. But it was revived then in December as Johnson came under pressure over the parties in Downing Street, with the Prime Minister using the story during PMQs. In January, Foy lost her mother and her father had a stroke, and at the same time, the story was gaining traction. During the run-up to local elections, it was covered extensively, and Durham police initially cleared Starmer of the wrongdoing in February. But the papers kept reporting the new developments, including the attendance of the deputy leader Angela Rayner, initially denied by Labour. A memo was then also leaked to the Mail on Sunday, detailing the plans for a curry as part of the visit. Richard Holden, the MP for North West Durham, also wrote to the Durham police, saying that he had uncovered new evidence. When the police reopened their investigation in May, Starmer pledged that he would resign if he was fined. Some of the new evidence Holden had handed over was adverts for a local party quiz on the night that very same evening. But the invitation makes it clear it was on Zoom. Foy had written underneath, "Have a greasy night," a term Holden claimed meant a drunken party. It was inevitable, Foy said. I type, "I'm sorry I can't make it. Have a great night." Obviously, nobody in the Northeast that I ever know have used the word greasy to mean drunken. But if I was an MP, but if he was an MP, but if he was an MP, would say, "Have a great drunken night." Foy said one of the lasting legacies of the breakdown in the relationship between her and the Tory MPs is something that she said could affect her work in this local area. I thought I was quite friendly with Richard Holden. We were all new together, she said. We were getting on with plans for levelling up. What a farce all this is. But we had to decide on some projects and we had issues. We talked about them. Obviously, it's a working relationship that is really ruined. Foy said that she now has scars from this experience and mostly came from the way that she was treated by the press and MPs rather than constituents. She said that it was because a few members of the public had brought the idea that she and Starmer had done anything wrong. People aren't fools. They know that there was no comparison. No matter how much they and the Tory MPs and the press were trying to make this story, people just weren't having it. So you can see how desperate they were for like Beergate to relieve the pressure on Boris to make this a whole, well, Boris might have had a party, but so too did Keir Starmer, and then they were hoping at least the pressure would come off, but it didn't. But it just goes to show you the lengths that not only the press went to of doing all this type of stuff. And I think some of these lengths were maybe a bit too far. I mean, someone will inevitably say, I'm sure in the comments, "Oh no, this is just typical, investigative reporting." But it's very, very clear that when you're doorstepping someone who works for the MPs, a 14-year-old child, to a teenager, to sort of intimidate them into saying something, then yeah, that's a bit, as a step too far, guys. And then you've got Tory MPs also desperately trying to put pressure on any way they can to try and relieve pressure on Boris. And now, obviously, he's gone at this point, but they are going to lose the Red Wall regardless. Liz Truss does not have the charisma or the appeal to be able to appeal to most of these, these red wall voters that they've now got to attract again. And especially with her new brand of neo-Thatcherism, it ain't going to sell well. It ain't going to sell well in many of these Tory seats, that of these new, shall we say, red wall seats that they gained back in 2019. Ultimately, they will lose them, and of course, they will be challenged down in the blue wall as well by the Lib Dems, and they will lose seats. And ultimately, I think the Tories are on track for a massive electoral defeat. But as I've said before, do not expect an early election. No way in their right minds are the Tories going to risk losing the potential of these next 2 years, where they have such a big mandate, such a big, number of MPs, to be able to get what they want through as quickly as possible. That is going to be something that we are also, I suspect, going to see a lot of bills tried to pass at a lot of very, very quick speed, because they know that they've only got 2 years to try and pass their agenda off. And then, well, we're going to have to see what happens then. But trust me, I think there's going to be a lot of bills forced through by the MPs very, very quickly. And it also makes a lot of sense for the Tories to try and also pack the House of Lords. But as we said before, that also makes a big opportunity to try and reform the House of Lords in a general election promise. And if they actually go through with it and do with it, it will be a massive change for the UK. Even if we can't sort of reform the voting system, at least reforming the House of Lords and changing it into a House of elected representatives, elected by sort of proportional representation, would also be a fantastic step forward, because that is the direction of travel that most people agree it should go on. And it's not just people on the left, as people on the right as well. So something that we on the left also need to take charge of, and not let the right wing sort of control that narrative when that starts to happen. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a motivation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can all buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.